that is a bird's eye view of the console, both the front and the rear panel. Before we get into all the details, let's take a moment to get your hardware updated with the latest firmware. If your mixer or accessory has been sitting on the dealer, maybe floor for months on end, you'll need to get it up to speed. So let's see how. We'll open up Universal Control and you can see that we have our StudioLive 64S coming in through USB. We'll select that. And then underneath the little gear icon, we can go down here to check firmware update. And that will check. You can see that I'm updated already, but let's go ahead and update that anyway. And that will start downloading that and then start moving that over to our hardware device. Go to mypresonus.com, register your hardware, then you just select them here, get latest firmware. And then we'll click on download the EarMix latest firmware. And then we'll go ahead and do the exact same thing for our NSB 8.8 and get the latest firmware for that. So while that's downloading, all we then need to do is connect these pieces of hardware to our wireless router and they'll turn up. And then all you need to do is point to those image files and then that will upload that right into the EarMix, and we can do the same thing with our NSB as well. Update the firmware, point it to that file we just downloaded, and then we're good to go. By the way, to back up your mixer, just select it from Universal Control, and as soon as that opens up, just make sure you're on the backup screen, and we can click on backup here, and that will back up everything in your mixer. Now, once that's done, then you can just select a backup and hit restore. Okay, so we've seen a bird's eye view of the console, both the front and the rear panel. We've updated the firmware and backed up our console. Oh, by the way, if you want to reset your mixer to the factory conditions, you can hold down effects while powering up. Let me just power down, hold down effects, power up, and then while holding this down, it'll fire up. As soon as you see this splash screen here, you can let go of the effects and that will set you back to the factory condition. Now, before we get stuck on all the details, let's take some moments to get some of the newer people up to speed with a section called Mixing 101. Now, if you're an old dog and you've been mixing for years, then you might want to skim through this section. You might be yawning through this section actually here. But if you're a newbie, please listen up. This will give you a quick primer on what mixing is all about and the terms that you'll need to know moving forward. So let's get started.